Hello, guys, welcome back to Wolf Recaps. Today I will show you a comedy, drama, fantasy film from 2009, titled 17 Again. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. In 1989, high school senior Mike O'Donnell seemingly has it all. He's a star athlete headed straight for a college scholarship. Confidence is his middle name. He has a beautiful girlfriend, Scarlett, who informs him she's pregnant just before his big game. In the middle of the game, Mike gives up everything to be with her and the baby. In the present, Mike is staying with Ned, an insanely rich friend from high school. Mike has been kicked out of the house by Scarlett. While eating breakfast, he's visibly annoyed by Ned's munching on Cap'n Crunch. Silver lining is that after 16 years on the job, he's about to be promoted to regional sales manager. Again, he's out of luck. Wendy, who has only been with the company for 2 months, gets the promotion. As an excuse, his boss tells him he's too valuable to be promoted. As if the day could not get any worse for him. He returns to his high school and reminisces about his basketball awards and the life Heckgould have had. The janitor shows up out of nowhere and talks to Mike like he knows him very well. He asks him if he had the chance to do it all over again. Would he? Yeah, I would. Just as his daughter Maggie arrives, the janitor poofed. He spends some family time with his son Alexander Maggie, who, it turns out, has been accepted to Georgetown College. Mike asks about his son's basketball practices. Alex is clearly disinterested. His kids pay no attention to him. Scarlett destroys Mike's belongings in the backyard. The divorce is coming up in 2 weeks, and she accuses Mike of making excuses his whole life, like how he could have had a much better life if he hadn't ran after Scarlett and got the scholarship. This seems to be a repeating pattern for Mike. His life has hit rock bottom. As he drives to Ned's house, his radio starts acting up, and a big storm is looming. Mike sees the mysterious janitor stand-in gun a railing. The truck drives by and he's gone again. When Mike checks the water, he sees a waterspout and himself when he was 17. He falls in. In the morning he is back at Ned's, washing off the dirt. He is shocked to see himself young. Ned does not recognize him and attacks him with an axe. Who even has that many medieval weapons lying around their house? They continue the Star Wars themed battle until Ned picks up a photo and sees Mike in his high school days and realizes it's actually him. Ned tries to understand what happened to Mike through his comics, to no avail. Mike knows it was the janitor. He goes to the school to look for him. It turns out there is only one janitor at the school and she is a lady. Mike notices a puddle and follows it. The puddle leads him to the basketball court. He deciphers that his spirit guide, aka the janitor, wants him to relive his senior year. At home, Ned is just casually playing on his 5 monitors. He yells in Mike's face that he will never ever go back there. A moment later, he is at the school pretending to be Mike's father to enroll him in. Mike is dressed in what 80s kids would consider hip. When they are called in to see the principal, Jane, it is as if Ned sees an attractive woman for the first time and can barely keep his hands to himself. After a few inappropriate comments and an embarrassed laugh, Mike is accepted. And they finally leave. When Mike realizes he looks like a fool in the hall, Ned buys him a new Audi and some fancy clothes. Even after all that, I would not call his first day of school heavenly. He gets a call from Scarlett about the divorce, which he completely forgot about, and they reschedule. After he finishes his call, he sees Alex, his son, in a sticky situation. Mike helps him out, and they bond over lunch. Since Mike is new here, Alex tells him everything about the school, from the hottest girl Nicole to the biggest bully Stan. He was the one who taped him to the toilet and he's Maggie's boyfriend. Mike is shocked at how little he knows about these kids. Mike stares at Stan and makes him come over to Alex and bully him. This infuriates Mike, and when asked what he's going to do about it, he replies like a father. "I'm going to call your parents." The whole cafeteria burst into laughter. Stan checks his reflexes, a failed attempt. Everyone in the cafeteria falls silent as Mike begins to tell why Stan is a bully while juggling the ball. Long story short, Stan has a small wiener. Mike realizes he is a bad father and tells it to Ned. His son has spent the last year being the school's punching bag, and that his daughter is getting a tongue bath from a jerk. He concludes that he turned 17 again to set these kids on the right path. He visits Alex and notes that he shoots 3-point shots without a problem and tells him he's going to get him on the team. Scarlett arrives after a happy hour and can't get over the fact that young Mike looks just like her husband when he was young, obviously because it is him. Mike is in health class where they talk about safe coupling. This does not sit well with him, because Stan takes a handful of Durex. He starts a speech about how you should only do it if you are in love or married, which is embarrassing but very wholesome at the same time. After the speech, people return the rubber, but Stan just marks that he finally has enough for the whole weekend, which makes Mike jump on him, but Stan overpowers him and beats him up. This makes him the laughing stock of the whole school. Also, as requested, Mike is in trouble and Ned is here to flirt with Jane. When she enters her office, she tells Ned that peacocking will not work on her. Later he visits Scarlett. She is sober and still in shock. He offers her his help, in a flirtatious way. Scarlett explains to him her plans for the backyard. He accidentally calls her Scar and she notes that only her husband calls her that and tells him there will be no cougar hunting, as if nothing will happen between them, but still accepts his offer to help rebuild the garden. Mike helps with gardening, keeps an eye on Scarlett, and trains Alex for the basketball team's entry. Meanwhile, Ned makes a pass at Jane. Alex has made it through tryouts and is no on the team. And the backyard is done, nothing like it was before. Scarlett tells him she has a date and needs to get ready, to which he replies that she's an amazing dancer, meaning she has a body that could move, making it a slightly inappropriate. Inside he notices Scarlett doing the snake dance. He puts on some music and asks her to teach him. The music he puts on is from their wedding. Mike is clearly hitting on her. Scarlett does her best to reject his advances. Mike understandably knows the steps and after they lock eyes, Alex catches them in the moment. Just then Scarlett's date arrives. Mike sees him and calls him a jerk. She hands him the divorce papers to give to Uncle Mike, Eustace, when Stan drives up to pick up Maggie for a party. To keep Maggie out of harm's way, Mike calls Alex and they also attend the party. There he urges him to talk to his crush, Nicole. In the meantime, he sets out to find Maggie. A couple of girls try to get his attention and he gives this whole, "How can you expect others to respect you if you do not respect yourself?" speech. To which he gets an answer that he doesn't have to respect them. One of the girls even kicks it up a notch by saying that he doesn't even have to remember her name. Alex manages to strike up a conversation with Nicole by saying she looks like his dog. His dog is dead. He shrugs the whole awkward scenario off as being nervous while his jeans burst into flames and he walks the walk of shame. Mike finally gets a hold of Maggie. After making a point that Stan is a douche and she deserves a nice guy, she tells him that they will live together after she graduates and that she is going to community college. She passes up her chance to go to Georgetown. Mike suddenly starts talking like her father and forbids her to see Stan. She says, "Who do you think you are?" and walks away as Alex comes in smoky. In school, it's an important game for them. They are down by 1 point and Mike decides to give the ball to Alex instead of Stan for a winning point. Stan is furious. Alex gets a warm and awkward congratulations from Nicole. Ned is still on the hunt for Jane. She rejects his proposal for a date, then talks about buying each student a laptop if she agrees. She cannot turn the kids down. The date ends with a condition that he stops the inappropriate behavior and gifts. Mike sees that Ned striked a date, so he throws a party at his house. Later, he notices Maggie crying and comforts her. Stan dumped her. What a surprise. He gives her a speech about how one day she'll meet her soulmate while he's uncomfortable like clothes. And in that moment, Mags falls in love with her father, when he's 17. A quick rebound from her heartbreak. The whole school is invited to Mike's party. Alex gets along well with Nicole. Meanwhile, Ned is enjoying his time with Jane. He confesses to her that he doesn't know how to act normal and that he's a dork, with a Lord of the Rings reference somewhere in the middle. Jane continues with his reference. They realize they are perfect for each other as they start conversing in the Elvish dialect. Back at the party, Stan tries to apologize to Maggie. She turns him down saying she's with someone else now. Mike tries to punch Stan, but he fails. Stan knocks him out. Mike wakes up speaking gibberish on Maggie's lap. She knows why he did not want her to be with Stan, because Mike wanted her to be with him. She starts playing a game with him where she's a lion and he is a gazelle. He tries to argue that he is in love with someone else and when she questions him, he cannot answer. Jane and Ned's dinner comes to a close, with what should be a happy ending. Except his house is crawling with high schoolers. Scarlett visits the party looking for Alex. Mike shares the good news about Alex and Nicole with her. When Jane and Ned arrive, she takes matters into her own hands and gets everyone to leave. Maggie notices Mike flirting with her mother. He kisses Scarlett and receives a well-deserved slap. He tries to chase after her and tell her he's the real Mike, the father of their children. Scarlett calls him a weirdo and that he should stay away from her. Then Maggie and her friends come and slap him for being a perv. After everyone leaves, Jane tells him Thash cannot meet with her student parents. Mike apologizes to Ned. He slaps him several times and calls them even. In the morning, they get in the Nedmobile to go to court, which Mike has to attend in 22 minutes. In court, they make a joke out of themselves, but before they are escorted out by the guards, Scarlett asks the judge to let Mike read the letter he claims to have from her husband. He reads a long story about losing his wife and loving her very much, which Scarlett can relate to. He does not want Scarlett to proceed with the divorce. Mike leaves the letter and walks away. Scarlett postpones the divorce and checks the letter. It is the courtroom's address. She starts to wonder. Later, Scarlett looks at her high school album from 1989. Mike from then looks exactly the same as Mike from now. A scout will be at Mike's scholarship game today, just like in 1989, and Scarlett is there with Maggie to watch the game. Ned comes to the game to ask Jane for another chance. She says she cannot be seen with her student parents. Ned says that no one can see him because he wears an invisibility cloak. That phrase mesmerizes Jane and she says that he can plunder her dungeon anytime, if you know what I mean. Before the game starts, Mike shows Scarlett a move he did back in the old days, that sets Scarlett off and she realizes that it is her husband Mike. As before, Mike pauses with the ball in his hands. When he sees Scarlett leave, he leaves the ball and rushes after her, implying that if he had the chance, he wouldn't have changed a thing and would want to be with her all over again. Scarlett is the best decision Mike ever made, he just forgot about it. He tries to explain to her about the 17-year-old thing and that he wants to spend the rest of his life with her. They make up. The end. Thank you for watching, subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thanks again for watching.